"Can I have your leftovers, sir?" The question came softly, barely a whisper, but it cleaved through the velvet hush of Le Pavon like thunder cracking marble. Every detail in the restaurant was curated for perfection. The chandeliers shaped like frozen stars, the quiet hum of wealth, the white linens folded like promises no one intended to break. At his secluded table tucked behind fresh orchids, John Maxwell, tech mogul, billionaire, and widower, looked up for the first time in what felt like years. He didn't just see the girl standing there. He felt her. All of her. Her trembling, threadbare coat. Her tired eyes filled with something stronger than desperation. Her arms wrapped protectively around a baby, swaddled in a faded blanket. And suddenly, the room full of millionaires and murmuring jazz faded into background noise. For 10 long years, John had lived with silence masquerading as peace. His wife, Lillian, and their 3-year-old son, Caleb, had vanished in a violent accident. Metal, glass, and grief fusing into a wreckage no empire could rebuild. He hadn't tasted food since. Not really, not until tonight, when a stranger asked not for money, not for a handout, but for his leftovers. John blinked, barely remembering the plate in front of him. Filet mignon untouched, a sculpted pile of mashed potatoes still steaming. The baby's wide, curious eyes were fixed on it. His little body curled against his mother, like she was the only solid ground left in the world. He nodded. "Take it," he said, voice cracking beneath the weight of something ancient and unfamiliar. She didn't rush. She didn't eat. She wrapped the food with care, like it was gold. Then, kneeling beside her child, she fed him one spoonful at a time, blowing gently, smiling softly, offering each bite like it was a lullaby. And John watched. He didn't understand why his chest hurt, or why the candlelight shimmered through a fog in his eyes. He didn't know why the baby's coo made his hands tremble, or why her silence felt louder than any song he'd heard since the accident, but he knew he couldn't let her walk out the door. Later, as she left, weaving through crystal and white linen, John stood and followed. Not in haste, not out of curiosity. Something deeper pulled him, a thread tied to memory, to ache, to hope. She didn't go far, just an alleyway behind a church, into an old navy blue sedan that had clearly become a home. There, she cradled the baby and sang, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." The melody hit him like a landslide. It wasn't the words, it was the way her voice cracked on them. She sang like someone who'd lost everything but refused to let her baby know what pain sounded like. "I'm sorry," he said, stepping into the dim light. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay." "You followed me," she said, tired but not afraid. Yes, she didn't run, didn't cry. She simply said, "His name is Noah. I'm Emily." Over time, John began to show up. Not loudly, not grandly, but with a quiet that matched hers. One morning, she found a small container by her car. Homemade soup, then diapers, formula. No notes, no explanations. Just small acts of care from a man who had forgotten what caring felt like. When Noah fell sick, burning with fever, and refused at the ER due to lack of insurance, Emily, shaking, texted just 2 words. "Help us." He came. 6 minutes later. He didn't speak. He didn't hesitate. He simply took Noah into his arms, stormed past the front desk, and made demands no one dared challenge. "This child needs a doctor now. I'll pay everything. But if you let him wait, I'll buy this place and clean house." That night, in a sterile hallway, Emily collapsed into his arms, sobbing like a mother who finally didn't have to be strong. And John? He held her, like he had once held Caleb. Only this time, he didn't feel broken. The world found out. A photo. A billionaire holding a baby at a hospital, a young woman trailing behind. Then headlines. Then venom. They called her a gold digger. Called him foolish. Doubted every detail. Emily shut off her phone. Her hands shook. Her eyes burned. "I can't do this," she said. "I won't let my son grow up in scandal." But John shook his head. "Let me show them who you really are." The next night, he went live. No rehearsals, no PR polish. He told the world about his wife, his son, the crash, the grief that swallowed him. And then he spoke of Emily. She didn't ask for charity, he said. She asked for mashed potatoes to feed her baby. And in doing so, she fed a part of me I thought was dead. His voice cracked. She didn't take anything. She gave me everything. And suddenly, the tide turned. Single mothers shared stories. Nurses spoke out. Donations poured into shelters. Emily didn't speak, but the next morning, she stood at John's front door, Noah in her arms. "If you still want us," she said, "we're here." What followed was slow, deliberate, healing. John visited daily. He learned how to warm bottles, how to rock Noah to sleep, how to change diapers, awkwardly at first, then with confidence. Emily cooked, drew, laughed again. The apartment filled with baby lotion and lullabies, quiet breakfasts and sleepy smiles. One night on the balcony, she whispered, "You didn't lose the part of you that could love. It just waited." He didn't kiss her. Not then. He didn't have to. Their silence said more than lips ever could. Months passed, and then a letter from her mother. "If there's still a chance to know my grandson, I would like to try." Emily stared at it for hours, not crying, not angry, just frozen. "I don't owe them anything," she said. John nodded. "Number. But maybe Noah deserves the choice to forgive. Or not." 3 days later, they drove back to the town Emily once called home. When her mother opened the door and saw Noah, her knees buckled. "I was scared," she whispered, "and I lost you anyway." Emily didn't answer, but when her mother asked, "May I hold him?" she handed him over. And something in that porch swing creaked with relief. 1 year later, under an old oak tree, Noah, now 2, in a little vest and bow tie, carried a velvet box through the grass. John knelt, not with fanfare, just truth. "You didn't ask for anything, you didn't beg, you just gave, and you gave me family." He opened the box. "Will you marry me?" Emily dropped to her knees beside him, laughing through tears. "Yes," she whispered. At the edge of the vows, Noah toddled up, wrapped his arms around John's leg, and chirped, "Daddy." The world stopped. John bent down, scooped him into his arms, and whispered, "I love you, son." It had all begun with a whisper, a question, and a plate of mashed potatoes. But what they built after was louder than money, louder than judgment, louder than grief. It was love, real, chosen, fierce, and finally, it was enough.